Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. And it's important for you to understand that what you really need to know is what doesn't work. And as you find out what doesn't work, you'll eventually find what does. Now, this is very important because how are you going to evolve through this world? This world is full of landmines, full of people that are going to give you stories, blowing off your legs, arms, and your entire body, eventually leaving you with nothing. They're doing this for their own profit mostly, but a lot of these people are very delusional. And I actually believe that these people are even possessed by demonic entities, negative extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call all this stuff. They're just bad people, and this is nothing new. This is one of the problems with this plane of existence ever since it's been here, is that there's always been a problem with this reality, that it seems to corrupt people. So, as we move through this, now, what I want to talk about is of course, how scalar radionics changes your life. I talk about a lot of technology because I'm still going through the final development stages of technologies that only I am aware of, only the information was only given to me, etc. And of course, my technology, it's a comparison to preschool to doctorate degrees compared to what's out there. The kind of imbecilic stuff that's out there produced by others just shows you where they're coming from in their consciousness. People who are hooked up with the stupidest, lowest level people possible. It's just the way it is, and I'm not pulling punches anymore. I'm not giving anybody credit. The bottom line is that stay tuned to what I tell you, read my literature, follow what I give you, and your life will vastly improve. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Through the years, and you got to remember, I've been doing this for almost, I've been researching for 55 years. I started researching when I was 10 years old. Started doing yoga and reading yogic books, and was even slightly levitating after doing yoga for a while. Now, I wasn't flying around the room, and I don't claim to have any great powers. I do have reached the level above human, which means I know everything, basically. But knowing things is not empowerment. You have to apply them. You have to know how to use them. And learning something, because this is a good path, like I've been steered to all the time, is still something that has to be done. Giving somebody huge amounts of extreme abilities and everything else generally is not good for someone. You have to earn it. So that's all part of the process here, and people have to understand that. And people who claim to give you things or the initiation into the power, this is, I used to hear people talk about that. Yeah, it's just a shortcut that you want to believe in. It's not real. It's not real at all. And almost all of life is not real. At least what you hear from people who want to sell you stuff, or, they want to boost their own ego. This is very typical of everybody, no matter whom they are. The whole idea is that certainly the Chinese and, of course, the Latins love to live in mysticism of that this is kind of cartoonish. And we all like to live in that reality and have some of those abilities. The problem is it's just not true. That doesn't mean that certain individuals can't reach some extreme abilities, as we know with so many practices. And what is the new next level? Well, we have reached there. We've finally reached the fact where man's consciousness, it's important to understand consciousness. Consciousness is not energy. It's not just psychic power. Consciousness is a deep soul force. It's the essence of your energy of your body. These are non-electric energy fields that best understood as passing through to you to every lifetime and wherever you go. This is what you take with you. Again, people can call this the soul. And everything has a soul. Animals, trees, stones, etc. These are all soul forces of their own type. To be arrogant, as so many people want to say, well, animals don't have souls, so we can kill them all the time. Yeah, this kind of imbecilic thinking is what's always been hampering this place of existence. So as we go into all these areas, we definitely do need to understand the reality that is going on here. So one of the things is that, if you really want to change your life, we've come to a stage in life which is really exciting. I mean, we're going through the largest change in that mankind has went through probably in 500 years. Between the technologies and now the political shakeups, thanks to Donald Trump. Well, he's the closest thing you're ever going to get to a Messiah. Uh, Unbelievable what he's doing to shake up, cleaning out the feces of the world. And finally, standing up for the good things that America was always meant to do. So we have to understand that. We have to understand what's going on. But we have made breakthroughs here, at least I have, where we have brought to the point where human consciousness can now combine with technology, machines. But you've got to understand what that is in general. And that is, in general, it is not the fact that the machines have any control. They're consciousness machines. They're human consciousness machines. They amplify and empower human energies, not on their own. If you give the idiot technology or machines the ability to do that, built by really a bunch of very low-level thinking humans, you're going to destroy the world. But that's not going to happen because there's always other forces out there to counter all these people. And of course, generally, the stupidest, the lowest mentality boobs are the ones that have the money. Well, again, if this plane was perfect, why would we live here? I mean, the problem is if everything works perfect for you and it's so easy and everybody had a magic lamp to pop up everything, well, what would be the point of living? Would have no point whatsoever. Things would become even worse because ease of living creates decadence into every perverse thing you can think of. And we've seen this with any advanced society. I mean, it's very interesting. When the Romans were at the height of their society, they had all the problems that we have now. They went to resorts, and they had the famous chefs, and they had all sorts of weird sexuality that went on there as well, particularly involving children, etc. So this is, of course, what happens when you get into decadent societies. But we are at a crossroads right now with our highest possible level of destructive energy from primitive weapons, but don't think that's the weapons that are out there. Atomic weapons are very primitive, big firecrackers. The real weapons are quite much more powerful than that, and it's all out there. What's interesting is I just saw another special on the fact that now the government is starting to release that they have anti-gravity. There's even some mock-ups of planes. Interesting. Of course, I told you about this years ago. And of course, anti-gravity has been around probably for 50 years, reverse engineered from extraterrestrial crafts, apparently. So all of this is what's been going on. But the point is, you can change your life to the highest level. And let's note all these things. I've done it for myself throughout my entire life, coming really from nothing, actually coming from a family structure that was out to destroy. As is done in so many understandings of people who have great paths, is that generally someone within your family will be inserted in there to destroy you. This happens, of course, was demonstrated in the movie The Omen, as the boy who was going to become the Antichrist actually had the nanny was a Satan's angels who was protecting the boy. So these things do happen and is real. Of course, I had the opposite of a guardian angel who protected me to the point to get me to in that. And of course, this, of course, was a very strong mother when I had a very cowardice, evil father who actually tried to kill me on several occasions because that was his job as Satan's child. So this is what happens when you go down your path. But you can change your path. We have now reached a level, particularly with the new Dragon Force unit and even my elite units, that you can take control of your life and change your life completely. And people have been doing this for many years with my technology. Started off with old ancient science, which generally is called magic, which is certainly very positive and good. And of course, like anything in life, you can use it for good or bad. Most things are not intrinsically evil. Is a gun intrinsically evil? Well, I mean, it kills things, but you can use it to survive, to take animals if you have to eat. You can protect yourself with it, but of course it's used to destroy innocence as well. So everything has its own personal spin and where it goes. And nor should this reality, and nor should Ascension be easy. No way whatsoever. Why would that be good? And why would we want the average person in this reality who's turned basically paradise into a feces-ridden slum, why would we possibly want to do that? We want to make sure that the next reality that we ascend up to, after going through stresses and strains here and beating the game, because that's what Ascension's all about, is you beat the game and then you get out of the game and you go up to the next level, which is much more productive. Now, these levels are not that difficult to get to. You don't need 50 different booba rituals, a bunch of nonsense you talked about, the Tibetan rainbow body, because, they've done so much to the Tibetans. So the whole idea is all that stuff is nonsense. It's there to trick people into thinking there's something to it. Ascension, as a general principle, is very easy to do. Now, I lay out all these techniques in the centering course that I offer and have offered for many years. The centering practice is an ascension practice. There's just another stage of it that you go into to actually take the final step. But you have to be ready to do that at the end of your life. But if you're practicing your centering, you now know how to ascend. Now, it's difficult because nobody wants you. You're just a dumb human being. You've been brought up by a bunch of negativity. You're filled with a bunch of urban legends and complete nonsense. So unless you can totally shake off all the beliefs that you have in this plane that you've learned from all the bogus people, you ain't going nowhere. Doesn't mean if you're a dumb, evil jerk and you use the techniques that they give you from these bogus people out there, and of course the aliens are going to help you. What kind of nonsense is that? These people are demonic, and they are pushing demonic energies. So it's all negative. It's a bunch of nonsense. And you don't do things by being a technician. You do things by glowing as a light, a being, and going on to the next level. And you're going to have to understand that. Now, I don't think hardly anybody ever ascends at all, any yearly. No. You can certainly, the Pope, the Dummy Lama, and everybody, they're not going anywhere. They don't have higher consciousness. They're living in dogma. You want more dogmas? You want more popies up there? You can set up his own little gay church. And you want the Dalai Lama up there with his goofy little robes on. He's going to give us all their great little fortune cookie philosophies. So we can produce more people like Richard Gere with his now Spanish wife hiding in Spain. So the whole idea is that all those things that go on. But we don't want that. Nobody wants that. And you certainly don't want to ascend into a realm that basically is nothing more than a human mental ghetto of fools. So it's all about understanding and releasing everything that has to do with this reality. Rejecting their science, their religions, everything that goes. Rejecting everything that has to do with this planet because virtually none of it has any value. You also understand that you're not part of this planet. You're not an animal. The Homo sapiens has already been proven that probably go back, it is its own separate species. It did not come from monkeys. If we were monkeys or apes or primates, whatever you want to call these things, why do we still have primates then? Why didn't everybody? No. Well, and it's not a species of primates. So Homo sapiens were a species unto themselves, and there was many similar species like this around as well. So we have to understand, it's been proven. They found ancient Homo sapiens in actually gold mines that go back millions of years, and when they were digging there, and proven all this. But it doesn't matter whether it's proven or not. All that's, who cares about physical evidence? That's all illusionary in the bigger picture anyway. But the bottom line is that you're not part of this reality. I learned this, and a lot of people like nature and like to be with nature. Do you? Have you ever really done, I used to go backpacking and move into and there's nothing more uncomfortable than going into the wilderness. Now, a bird and a bear, take them to any similar environment, and they don't really have a problem, and it doesn't bother them. They don't need to create clothes, and shoes, and other things. The bottom line is that you don't have any conveniences that you, the freak to this reality, need. From clothes to shoes to shelters to food and everything else. Even a proper place to make a poo. So you got to understand that you are not part of this reality. That's all part of waking up. Now, if you don't understand that right off the bat, if you think that you're some sort of primate that came out of the jungles or wherever, you're already not getting it. Because that's what you've been told and that's what you believe. And I'm sure you believe all those people. Maybe you even love your teachers and they thought they were wonderful for teaching you lies and nonsense. Of course, they didn't know it was lies. They're just being used as a tool to keep you in prison. Now, the whole idea of this reality is not to allow people to escape. So that is a filter to keep all the scum down here reincarnating forever. And the whole idea is to only move ahead those that really deserve it and that will have a better existence. So that's got to be very few people. So as I said, I don't know of anybody who's ascending that I know, certainly nobody public. And of course, there may be some individuals out there that reach this on their own. But if you reach this through some sort of organization, through some sort of Buddhism or Christianism or Judaism or Muslim or whatever it is, if you think you're getting it, or some spiritual path, you're a Scientologist or one of these other nonsense garbage stuff that's out there, all of these things you're getting nowhere. Because you're following somebody else's path. Now, these may be helpful to get you started. You know, everybody needs a kickstart. We all start off with whatever our parents tell us to. So you're going to believe in their religion. I look back at all my friends and stuff who really don't do any of the following that they did when they were started off, but they had the same belief systems that Daddy had. And of course, I did the same thing. They had the same religion that Daddy had. Yeah, I did the same thing. So you're going to follow that initially. You're going to eat the foods your family eats. What are you supposed to do? Cook your own foods? Get other ones? No, so that's what you're going to be accustomed to. So if you grow up eating tortillas all your life, you're going to continue to do that until when? Until you have a consciousness to say, well, this was okay then, but it's really not a very good food. It's better not to eat 4 pounds of white flour every day. So it's just not good for you, or whatever food you eat. And we used to see that with pasta. You see these very fat Italians out there who've been living on pasta because that's what their family said. They eat with 2 hands. One has the pasta fork in it, and the other one has a white wheat roll in it. And then they wonder why they get fat, and they eat a lot of it. So the whole idea is this goes with anybody's culture. You're going to be forced into a culture, and this is to move you up to a stage of survival so you can get by. From there, you're supposed to awaken. This awakening should start in many areas. Once you start reaching adulthood, you should start looking at your diet. And that doesn't mean you go out and eat hamburgers and chips all the time because you just want to eat junk food instead of having a balanced diet. So you start looking at your foods. What are good? I'm always amazed when I used to buy a lot of organic stuff. And I remember one time standing in a line in Trader Joe's, and I had a guy, of course, dumb old people. But what's that organic stuff? I said, we were talking about milk. And I said, well, they don't put a bunch of chemicals and shoot things, antibiotics in. All of this is really bad for you. Oh, yeah, well, that's the way I grew. That's when I raised my cows. Of course, this is an old guy from the Middle West, which is what most people in California come from. And he was making a statement on, that's what they did it because they didn't know any better. That's the way they did it. I'm not sure it was a choice. That's right. Just like when you have the Amish do things fairly organic, not because they think it's good, because they're too stupid to think that. After all, they're raised under the most horrific conditions of fantasy and garbage by what they're taught. They do it because that's their tradition. Now, that's not good enough. So you aren't ascending because you are taking care of animals or growing crops in a way that is normal. You have to choose that. By choosing that, then you are making the decision in life a conscious decision to go down a particular path. This goes with the fact of generally things like starting with your diet. Well, there's no benefits to having a bunch of chemicals in your food. Plain and simple. But people don't do it. I just saw a guy who's trying to get back in shape. It's hilarious. A guy who's not feeling too good. All the little poison fogs and all the other stuff is getting to him. But he's a typical low-level person. Came from a very poor family, but was able to, through eBay, and I have to give him credit, through a lot of hard work. He came from a trash background, living in a tiny little apartment with mommy and daddy, roach-infected realities, and decided, I want something better. Now, his parents didn't want anything better, nor did his brothers, etc. But he went and figured out how to do it to make hard work pay off. So, now he figures, well, I want to, but here's where the disconnect. I want to get on a better diet because I'm not feeling too good. And of course, he's getting older. So what he was able to get by with then, he can't get by with now. So he writes down there, well, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat canned food, but not junk canned food, good canned food. You know, beans and steak in a can. And of course, I'm going to move over no more junk food. I'm going to eat SpaghettiOs. And it goes on from there. Here's a guy that doesn't get it, but he's trying. But he doesn't have any good influence from outsiders. Nobody in his new family unit, his wife and children, have any kind of consciousness because he doesn't have any consciousness. But he's making that first step. Now, I had this stuff, and the one thing you have to do in life is not only do you have to recognize what works for you, you have to have general observation abilities. Now, I've seen this with a lot of people I dealt with of different economic backgrounds. One guy who had a wealthy father who was a dentist. And I've seen other people that even come from an educational background. Both of his parents were college professors. Dumb professors, like they all are. Dummademia, really fits them. And they actually didn't understand. I used to take them places to show them new things, and they didn't value that. They didn't value, they were so arrogant and trapped in their ways. And of course, all these people are going to go nowhere, and they're all losers. So the fact is that they didn't recognize the fact that here, you're being exposed to this. Drink it in because you don't have any background. Go to people that know and take the good stuff from them. And when they present it to you, then you actually should look at it and see how that fits into your life. Know it. This is all part of the ascension process. Do you know about everything out there? And one of the easiest ways is to know about all sorts of things. Fun things. What is this food about? What is this drink about? What is this movie about? What is this book about? So it doesn't have to do with going into some intellectual pursuit only. But every time you increase your consciousness and figure out something, and this starts with simple things that are easily done. Have you tried every food that's out there? Have you tried all the different things? No, I only eat tortillas. I only drink the beer from my... You get that all over, of course, Germany. I only drink the beer in my town that comes out of the camel's asshole. So this is the kind of shit you get into. You can't even get things on. And they drink stuff. Daddy drank this beer. I drank it. And then there are people that mimic that, and they mimic... very typical of the U.S. military. Then they're going to mimic the idiots that they see in their town there, thinking that beer is good. So the point is that this is the kind of traps you fall into. But as a person who knows nothing and has been exposed to nothing, you need to watch and learn from others. What are they doing? What are successful people? To a certain extent, you can look at it, and a cliche-ish thing is, what do the rich people do? Well, they have the choice. Poor people don't have a choice. You can buy a 50-cent can of junk food or a 50-cent can of junk food. And they don't know the difference. And people don't understand the difference of it. And this is why we have such a screwed up world. People accept something and say, well, that's the way it is. Well, there are things better. Why is there things better? Now, Daddy doesn't do that. Or you come from a culture or place and you accept that as the only truth and fact out there. One, it's far from that, obviously. But the whole idea is, how do you know how anything is unless you've tested it? So how do you know that? There are standards of quality. Now, you may like a particular taste or other things, and this is what your personal tastes are, but there are levels of quality that are universal. So things that are made right, things that should taste in a particular reality. They should have a taste, like beer should not be bitter, like all German beers are. Almost all of them are bitter junk. They're made in crappy ways that produce bitter junk. And the international beers that everybody really likes, none of them are really hooked to anything German, which ought to tell you something. Things like Dutch beer, like Heineken's. Everybody loves that. Yeah, because it's a damn good, tasty beer. Do you know that? Have you ever had that? Oh, I want to drink Budweiser. These are all the things that go on. But I took this bogus guy, who's both of his parents, but of course, his parents he was semi-autistic. But, it's amazing how arrogant, stupid people are. They want to tell you how much they know, and when you present them with something good, instead of saying, gee, I have a lot to learn in life, particularly if I come from an idiot family, which most people do, that you embrace things. So, So the bottom line is this guy was taken to a German restaurant, a good one, to expose him to another food that he didn't have up in a really beautiful place in Idlewild, California, a pretty little place. And of course, the menus come out. Of course, all these restaurants tend to have for the idiots. I mean, I remember in the 60s and 70s that you would have restaurants and they all would have steak at them. It doesn't matter where you go. There'd be steak there for the stupid idiot American. I like steak. So you would have, or some little inane dish like that for all the retards that somebody brought with them in their party. But you don't go to a Chinese restaurant and order spaghetti. But of course, this guy, because they had it on the menu for those people that want to have that, a fish dish, mahi mahi, which certainly was not a delicacy in Europe. So the whole idea is that here he was shown this entire reality, and he wanted to have the mahi mahi. You are a failure. Point is when you fight against it and it's presented in front of you, you are rejecting what is going on for you. So this is, of course, the reality of what goes on with people like this. And of course, this guy is a total loser like they all are. I took this wealthy guy to it, and of course, he had never had German food either. In a really good little restaurant at Alpine Village in Los Angeles. And he ordered chicken because he didn't want to eat something that had fat in it because he was watching his weight. Well, first of all, when you go out and eat, you shouldn't be overly watching your weight. And if you go to an Italian restaurant, you don't order Chinese food. And you should understand what it is. So if you don't understand it, and you don't have the natural curiosity to, well, what is this about? Because that's what Ascension is all about. It's a natural curiosity of what can we do different. Now, throughout life, everything I come in contact with, I automatically reverse think, and I automatically think it can be done better. Why are we doing it this way? This is how this is what Ascension thinking is all about. Because anything that's being done today it's really not solving any of our problems. There's nothing great about it. So can't we do it better? Well, you got to think like that. And on the other hand, you want to also move it to the next level and say, well, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing it. So that's a reverse thinking thing. So that's all part of the process. So you have to, of course, do that in the reality. So that's the way you do it. That right there is Ascension training that is beyond the understanding of everything. And you get the third 56 life body of the Magzadex and the Templars, and of course the Mozadek, the monkeys, and all. Like that complete goofball that you. People who talk in these cliche-ish nonsense are dangerous. They're going to lead you into the abyss, and you're going to keep reincarnating. They are fantasy livers who basically are mentally disturbed, just like most people that have any really strong beliefs in fantasy, which means anybody who believes in anything that has no basis in fact, all religions. So let's not demonize just the popular ones or Christianity. All religion is a fantasy. The Tibetans have brought us absolutely nothing. I'm still waiting for somebody to leave in the comments what Tibet has brought to the world. So the whole idea is we really have to understand all that stuff. These are religious goofball centers that have done nothing for the world, who started off with horrible pagan animal torturing practices and were conquering most of their neighbors like the Chinese. Yeah, the Tibetans are so good, huh, Richie Gear? Yeah, we can go home to Spain, and we all know that from the waist down, you ain't Tibetan. So the whole idea is that we have all sorts of problems. So this is the process. Now, very important because that's how you have to work at it. Now, it seems simplistic, doesn't it? But most things in life that work, even like scalar energies and technologies, there is a very simplistic factor to it all. And things are designed that way. They're meant to be simplistic, but simplistic doesn't necessarily mean easy. Now, if you're going to change your life, that's the way you do it. But I have a long list of changing people's lives. And this all started with myself and many other people who were able to solve pretty much all their problems in life by using the particular powerful system at that time. So as I said, I use some basically using what has been tried and true for thousands of years, and that is good old candle magic, where you're using herbals and oils, and these generate certain energies, and you put them on a candle using the basically your amplifier, which was a candle. And you could say the tube of the amplifier was the candle flame. This works extremely well and works for everybody. It's simple and easy, and I've even taken that system and boiled it down into an even easier system than the old traditional way. But I initially teach you the old traditional way that goes with it all, so that you can understand the bigger picture. As I don't change anything in my old books, we keep the same illustrations that were 1,000 years ago are in the new, quote, grimoire type books. We don't change that. Some people want to dress them up to make them look pretty. Of course, that's always done by the Satanists, because they're such idiots. They want to make it looky pretty. It's hilarious. But the bottom line is you do that and you change your life. And people who've used that system has changed their life. And you can totally move your life. Now, one of the only people that really have problems when they use my technology are people that have been crossed or cursed literally for 30, 40 years and maybe into past lives. I mean, if you're under some sort of horrible curse which has infected your entire body, you basically have what would be considered very advanced big C. You're so toxic that you have real serious problems. These are hard people to change, but these can be changed as well. Follow a good system, believe in what's there, invest your time and money into systems that work. And this is the only systems that do work. All the rest of it out there, and I still can't find anything of validity. Same old story. So you can go to all those people that claim they do everything, like Tom Palladino, the great scalar energy healer who dies at 64. Yeah, he had a lot of secrets. He knew a lot with his junk machines. Instead of getting quality machines from me, he bought junk machines from a guy who was mentally insane. So the whole idea is that, and a Christian. Is that double trouble? Well, I think it is. So the whole idea to do with that is that you have to understand that. So if you use the systems, you get ahead. So my testimonial page is loaded with actual... Well, this is the end of part 1. We'll pick it up in part 2.